Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LCS Battle Theater here in Los Angeles, California. I'm Optimus Tom Searfoss, and joining me today is going to be Mr. Isaac Azael Cummings-Bentley. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, no problem. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for joining us for a special presentation of the North American Scouting Grounds Final. Now, 20 of the unsigned top-level talents from the North American ranked ladder were invited to the Riot Games campus for a week-long combine to evaluate and develop future NALCS stars.
The invitees have been drafted into 4 teams, each one supported by an LCS coach and staff. The teams, Infernal, Cloud, Mountain, and Ocean, scrimmed and trained, competed in a tournament, and today, one team of LCS hopefuls will become the first ever NA Scouting Grounds champion.
Yeah, it's exciting stuff, but in addition to the finals that we're about to bring you guys, you can check out all the VODs of all the other matches that were played this week. And if you want to delve more into the player experience here, we've also partnered with members of the press and embedded them within each of the teams. So for a complete breakdown on that, you can click on over to lolesports.com. But let's take a look at the match at hand, because the starting rosters today, we have some pretty exciting players. So let's take a look at the blue side first, starting with Team Cloud Drake. In the top lane, Fallen Bandit. The jungle, Omar God. Mid lane is Butler Delta. Bottom lane of AD carry and support are Zag and Lulfil, and they are coached by CLG's coach Zix.
And their opponent today is Team Ocean Drake. In the top lane is Max Trobo. In the jungle, Wiggly. In the mid lane, RJS, D&D God. And the bot lane duo going to be Vex and Wyan, with Lorlo coaching today.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about some of these players that you guys just got a small introduction to, because some of them have definitely stood out during the scouting ground so far.
Yeah, and one guy that's kind of fun to talk about is Vex. He was actually the last pick in the entire draft, but he has really been showing up. He has a 9.6 KDA throughout the tournament. He's been a very big reason that Ocean have made it all the way here to the finals at NA Scouting Grounds.
Yeah, but on the opposite side of the rift there, I want to talk about Omar God on Team Cloud Drake, because unlike Vex, he was the first pick of the draft, and his KDA is definitely reflective of that highest in the tournament so far, 12.24. He's the quintessential style of a carry jungler. He just is the wrecking ball that Team Cloud Drake seems to just roll right behind.
Yeah, and he's been able to play a lot of different champions, been playing a ton of Olaf and Graves specifically. He has like an 80% win rate in Challenger playing those champions, has also played some Hecarim and has about 80% win rate on that champion too in Challenger. So this is definitely a guy who's a solo queue monster. He was first picked in the draft, and he's been transitioning it into this tournament format, which can be very hard to do as a new player. You know, you can be very nerve-wracking playing in these sort of settings for the first time.
And speaking of format too, guys, we are still on 6.21. It's been the last competitive patch, so that's what these guys are going to be more accustomed to. Definitely a lot more analysis from the coaching staff on that as well. No preseason plant changes or anything like that, but we do have a little bit of an idea of what we can expect from Champ Select.
Yeah, certainly. It's something where it's just going to be better kind of for the competitive integrity of the tournament. It's going to be better for these players. They qualified on that patch, so we're going to have them playing Scouting Grounds in that patch as well, where they can best show off their skills.
Yeah, and we'll get to see who they're going to be choosing to do so, because Champion Select is underway, and 2 bans per side already there. Cloud already banning out the Jace and Gangplank, and unsurprisingly Team Ocean, a Kennen ban, but also the Anivia ban for Butler Delta.
Yeah, Butler Delta is kind of a one-trick pony Anivia player, but he's actually been winning most of his lanes here, playing a variety of other champions. He's played some Zillion, he's been playing Vel'Koz. This guy is showing that he does have flexibility and can compete with the best, even when he's not on that comfort pick.
And we've already had the bans completed his Rise and Olaf round. Does that in a very quick lock-in from Team Cloud Drake of Jhin first pick.
Yeah, I think the Olaf here makes a lot of sense, taking that out of the hands of Omar God. This guy has really destroyed every single game that he's gotten a hold of the champion. I think he's won every single Olaf game that I've actually seen him play so far with ridiculous KDAs, like hard carrying the games, not just scraping through. He has been hard carrying games on it. His kind of go-tos after this has been things like Hecarim, like Graves. Those are still going to be available, and with Lee Sin taken away, Karma taken away, we could see one of those come through.
And as you did mention, the Lee Sin locked in there. Karma picked up from the side of Team Ocean Drake. On the flip side for Team Cloud Drake, it looks like they are going to wind up picking out that Hecarim for Omar, and they've also locked in a very beefy support in the bottom lane from Alistar.
Yeah, and Phil is a guy who is actually a Phil player. That's where his name comes from. So he had been kind of playing that Phil role, and as everyone knows, if you do play Phil, as I do from time to time, you get a lot of support. So he is playing support exclusively here at the tournament. There was kind of a funny story where they accidentally picked Yasuo Yasuo in one of the games, and I believe he actually went top lane to play Yasuo because he knew how to play it. And Fallen Bandit, who is their top laner for the tournament, did not know how to play Yasuo, so he played support. So this guy filled in a tournament, which is pretty hilarious. But all jokes aside, he's been crushing it on the Alistar. I've actually been very impressed with how well he plays.
Well, not really an autofill kind of role. He was locked into that one that time. But we are going to wind up seeing Gnar and Ezreal picked up here from Team Ocean Drake. And Gnar has been one of those things that Max Troba has really fallen back on throughout the course of the scouting grounds.
Yeah, it certainly has been. Gnar is obviously just a go-to pick. We saw it so much, on this patch. We have seen Max Strobo kind of play the counter to it as well, though, which is traditionally things like the Aurelia. And this is actually going to be a top lane Cassiopeia, I think. Yeah, it looks like top lane Cassiopeia is the kind of counter pick that they're going to try to use here for Fallen Bandit against the Gnar. This is something that I haven't really seen this matchup ever. Normally you would see things more like the Aurelia getting picked into that, but if he's not comfortable playing that side of the matchup, he's going to go for something different. And this has been one of the kind of fun and exciting things about Scouting Grounds, is seeing some of these picks that we would not traditionally see in pro play. I was just watching a VOD of one of the games earlier, which had a Fizz, Yasuo, and a Vel'Koz all on the same team, and it's like, well, you don't get to see that in the LCS.
Not every day. The Vel'Koz, speaking of, has been locked in as well. Butler Delta has been falling back on that one when the Anivia has inevitably been taking away from him. So a lot of ability power coming out of the solo lanes, and they got the Hecarim jungle on the side of Team Cloud Drake, but the rounding out of the composition from their opponents on Ocean Drake is going to be something a little bit more standard in the mid lane as they lock in Victor.
Yeah, Victor, very, very standard. And the top lane is going to be really interesting. Cassiopeia can actually be a pretty big top lane bully, but more specifically against some of the melee matchups, it's something that was kind of played in a solo queue a decent amount, and I've run into it from time to time. It can be very frustrating when you are playing melee matchups into it, but Gnar is obviously a ranged champion, and I'm not really sure exactly how that matchup is going to go. I will say, though, the problem with Cassiopeia top always has been that you're very gankable. It's kind of like a lot of these champions. You push them in, you poke them, you harass, but Cassiopeia has a lot of mana problems early on. And if you want to push them in under a turret and kind of harass this person, you're very susceptible to ganks, so they'll have to play around that. Omar God is going to have to protect his top laner, and Wiggly is going to have to try to snowball that lane, because if the Gnar gets ahead, Cassiopeia is going to be pretty worthless.
And one of the things we did see is Ocean had been playing around Max Strobo a lot previously, so we'll have to see if that is going to be where the focus is. Kind of makes sense that the Lee Sin, the guy who kicks you, is going after the person with no legs to fight back. So
not like this.
Not like this. Well, we are about to load into game, guys, so we're going to wind up seeing who is going to wind up coming out ahead. Team Cloud Drake definitely has a fairly interesting composition, whereas the side of Team Ocean Drake, seeing something that we've seen a lot kind of coming out of like the most recent World Final.
Yeah, definitely a much more standard composition here for Ocean. Cloud showing us something pretty new. Vel'Koz, obviously something that we had seen in competitive play, not a lot, but even someone like Jensen had busted that out. We did see Hecarim for a brief time before he received some nerfs, but the champion is still monstrous in solo queue, and it's something that people play a lot of. So both pre-patch and post-patch, with obviously Courage of Colossus coming in now, it's seeing a lot of play with that, but I'm definitely going to be very interested to see how this top lane shakes out and how much these guys are going to be able to kind of affect this matchup, because you got to think that there's just going to be so much pressure on this top side. But one thing that Omar God has been doing a lot of is these kind of bot lane ganks. They play a lot of Jhin, they play a lot of kind of setup support champions like the Alistar. So if you hit that combo from Alistar, Jhin can throw in a root, and then you Ghosted Jungler just running in up the lane, you can be very, very powerful, especially when he was on the Olaf, but the same principle can kind of apply here.
Yeah, the hard CC is kind of already built into your bottom lane, so that's going to be the natural place we're going to see the Hecarim just kind of run into. No kind of early game shenanigans. We see just everybody getting a feel for the match right now. And like you did say, the top lane, with these weird champions picked up here, is really going to be the focus. But as we did mention in the pregame, Vex has continuously played some of these champions that have a little bit more mobility in that bottom lane. The potential to go the Iceborne Gauntlet on the Ezreal. He's really all about the mobility, keeping himself alive, and being able to survive. And what Ocean has said so far is a strong point, which is those later game team fights.
Yeah, and going for that Iceborne, it's interesting that you do mention that, because it's obviously very strong to get that extra armor against some of the AD comps and stuff, but there's also a ton of AP coming out here, and we have seen players elect to go things like Triforce and stuff instead. I'd be interested to see if he's going to go for something like that, or even a different build altogether. Obviously, Iceborne is still the standard go-to build, but We're not used to seeing people play against such AP-heavy comps with the Vel'Koz and the Cassiopeia. These are two massive AP damage carries and things that you kind of have to show a lot of respect to.
Oh, I'm going to see how much they give respect to the dreaded Cassiopeia teleport play into the bottom lane, as it does look like Team Ocean Drake starting off with a bit of a
never
going
to
to
happen.
Never going to happen.
Never going to happen. We're never going to see the Cassiopeia flank.
I'll hold you to that.
Yeah,
We'll see.
unless Fall of Min is feeling like going on a suicide mission, I don't think we're going to see that. But you know, you can take the TP simply to kind of move around the map and defend towers, meet up with your team, things like this, and obviously even just to get back to lane, to use it kind of as a farming TP. I think that's something we'll see much more commonly. Whereas obviously Max Trobo can go for those flanks, can look for those teleport initiates. It's just too dangerous for a squishy champion like Cassiopeia to do that, because if you go in and the other team turns around and collapses on you, you will be dead right away and not really able to contribute much.
So it does seem like everybody so far is content to just sit there in their lane phase. And on the side of Team Cloud Drake, you did mention that Hecarim will be able to get a lot of power, especially if they try to go for those lane ganks and abuse the CC that their bottom lane does have. But a lot of the early game movements are really going to be picked up by the side of Ocean Drake here. Lee Sin, extremely strong, extremely mobile, especially in the early game. Want to kind of keep our eyes to see where both of these junglers go, because they really have been kind of focal points for both of these teams.
Yeah, they certainly have. And you can see Omar, even if he's not looking for this gank, even just picking up the scuttle is adding a little bit of a layer of protection for his Cassiopeia. And now moving into the jungle here, perhaps going to get down a deep ward. These are things that can help your Cassiopeia play aggressively, protect you from that Lee Sin, because he now has these multiple warning points. There's a ward by the rafters, there's a ward up above the red bush, as well as that one from the scuttle. So he's going to be pretty protected to play aggressively here, and this is obviously something they've thought a lot about and have kind of planned around.
Yeah, so you don't necessarily have to gank that top lane to keep the Cassio safe, although it does look like Omar will just say hello up there to Max Trobo. Across the side of the map, though, it does look like there's just been a little bit of constant pressure from this Karma and Ezreal lane, although...
There certainly has, but the thing is, this work that Omar got done on topside is putting Wiggly on the Lee Sin into this awkward position, because he goes topside and all his camps are now gone. So now he's kind of forced to reactively try to invade and get something done here. And they may end up meeting up as Omar God is going to clear up his Gromp, and these two could cross paths. We'll see if they're going to start fighting, and he's able to take away that camp.
Yeah, the Wolf Spirit does spy Omar. He gets the camp, but now he's got the Lee Sin on his back as well. Butler Delta just comes over, and Lee Sin, good little damage down to Omar.
Yeah, a little bit of damage, not too bad, but Omar God's certainly going to be happy about how the game has gone here in the early stages. If we look over to the mid lane, there's a CS lead developing there for RJS D&D God, and down in the bot lane as well, you know, Vex is kind of getting the better of that CS matchup, as you would expect from Ezreal and Karma. They're going to be able to kind of poke out this lane. They will have early advantages in that way, but they are going to still have to pay a lot of respect to the all-in potential that Cloud has here with Phil, with Zag, that follow-up CC, especially if Hecarim wants to kind of power farm to 6. It's going to make it even more frightening.
And we did see that when Phil did go in, the Inspire Shield from Karma, just kind of keeping them rather sustained. Although Alistar, this is 621, so he still is able to use that heal on command. Not yet change over to his passive. But we do see that this constant pressure from bottom lane, just making sure that they're able to keep that bottom lane down right now, and not giving them that pressure that you mentioned. Omar does tend to go for those lane ganks. They're not letting them even get that forward presence established, although now it looks like he's going to turn his attention to the mid lane here, going in an RJS D&D God. Oh man, it gets the boots on there, starts ducking and dodging. He's able to get out of there with just the ghost.
Just the ghost pop, but Omar God did save his ghost.
Ooh.
Look at that damage now.
Vel'Koz's ultimate does get him down extremely low, and they're going to grab the other summoner spell as well there from the mid lane Victor, but Omar, does he want to go for it?
Wants it. There's the
He's
ghost
got
pop.
The ghost. He's going in. The charge is on. The flash forward, and it's first blood going over to Team Cloud Drake.
Yeah, Omar God able to pick it up, but they may get taken down here as Butler has no flash. He's definitely going to die.
Yeah, he flashed in for the damage, but he takes them himself, and Wiggly picks up a return kill.
They do grab that return kill. I think for the most part, you're going to call it worth there, though. The first blood going over to the Hecarim, especially because you know this is a Victor without summoner spells, and now you're going to be propelling your Hecarim towards that level 6, getting him towards the Trinity Force faster, which is this terrifying power spike. And if he can get to that 6 fast, they can look for a very easy return gank on a summonerless mid lane.
And we see here, despite all of the moves that Victor did put on in the mid lane, thinking he can just stay in that lane, a lot of damage coming out from that Vel'Koz, though. You mentioned before, we've seen it a little bit in competitive play, but not everybody knows just how much damage that champion packs.
Yeah, and the champion is extremely powerful, but it's kind of how susceptible you are to getting ganked. And honestly here, I think that Butler Delta probably did not need to flash in there, a bit overzealous, trying to pick up kind of that kill for himself when it should have already been secured. He does pay for it with his life, but not the end of the world, as he's doing okay.
A lot of these guys highlighted when we were interviewing them before the scouting grounds, they're detailed to lane pressure and calculated aggression. That was a little over-calculated, I think, on that flash.
Just a miscalculation. He's still calculating it.
That's true. But it does look like that, although they are Team Ocean Drake, they are going to be taking down the Cloud Drake. Not the team here that they just got to kill in the mid lane, but the actual Drake on the Rift, as that is the first one that they're going to get in the game.
Yeah, so we'll pick that up. It's going to be a nice one. And even just to take that away from someone like Hecarim, who not only gets that kind of out-of-combat movement speed, but it actually adds into his damage with that devastating charge. But at the same time, Omar God is aware of this, and he's taking stuff away. He's already clearing the full side, top side, that Wiggly has here. So once again, he's returning there. He's going to take away all those camps, and he can look mid lane with his ultimate, or he can just go back and continue to power farm, take up his camps, and try to accrue a gold and XP advantage.
Good cross-map play, and as you did mention a little bit earlier on, that just means that if Lee Sin is not seen on that top side of the jungle, that Cassiopeia is going to be relatively safe. Mentioned she's not going to be able to have as many escape options as some of the other champions up there. And so far, that matchup that seems pretty strange is slightly in favor of the Cassiopeia. She has gone back and picked up the tier to start stacking that away, but has also gotten early needlessly large rod, whereas the Gnar on the opposite side has been forced to build that Hex Shrinker first just to kind of keep up in that lane.
Yeah, I was honestly a bit surprised to not see Fallen Bandit go for a really early base to just grab that super fast tier. That's generally what tier users want to do. But you can kind of get in this awkward situation where you're being pushed in and don't want to give up the farm to base earlier on. And either way, doing quite well for himself in that top lane. And the longer this goes, the stronger and stronger he's going to get, right? This is a hyper-scaling champion that is going to be massive in team fights, and it's supposed to be a champion that's very easy to gank and kind of punish for playing it, but it hasn't happened because Omar God has been on the top side protecting this Cassiopeia, and things honestly are looking pretty good here for Cloud.
Oh, there's going to be a flash away here. Max Trouble deciding to go in as Wiggly showed himself in the top lane, but flash there from Fallen Bandit is going to go make sure he's safe. But in the bot lane here, Wyan looks like he's caught out here. The exhaust is down, and Zag's going to snipe and pick himself up the kill.
Yeah, so Fallen Bandit able to avoid that first stage of the dive, but he's going to have to be careful and respect the fact that Lee Sin could still be here. This is a flashless, altless Cassiopeia, and he is playing pretty far back, knowing that it could be here. But Fallen Bandit, you know, needs to know that there is a benefit for that, and they have spotted the Lee Sin now, so he'll have to give up the wave, but it should be first turret gold to Cloud here on the bot side, because they got a way faster start. They even have the Sheen on the Hecarim, going to help chop this turret down very quickly. They got a kill, so a lot more has been kind of taken from this on the bot side.
Yeah, and there it goes. Cloud Drag is going to take the first tower, and Fallen Bandit, meanwhile, on the top lane, is able to keep his alive, just putting that miasma down and just threatening the damage coming out from that needlessly large wide Cassia.
Yeah, it certainly is. And just the fact that he got that poke down onto Lee Sin pushes him back. And here we have that replay in the bot lane. No real chance for Wyan to get out of there. And I think intelligently saving that flash. Not really worth kind of blowing an extra summoner in that position, as you are pretty much guaranteed to go down.
That's pretty much exactly what you were saying in the pregame, though, is Omar going for that lane gank there. The flash, pulverized combination coming out from his Alistar. Now both of them deciding to transition back into that top side of the jungle. Once again, Wiggly just walks into the brush, gets caught up by an Alistar in his jungle, decides to turn around and go back in. Now he's got some support coming in from Wyan, but Butler Delta does come up here. The Vel'Koz ultimate comes out once again. Now it looks like, oh my god, they might actually be getting collapsed on here by Team Cloud Drake. They are going to wind up getting him out of there with the devastating charge, but Max Strobo deciding to keep chasing this one. Phil has to pop the ultimate here. The Unbreakable Will is lost, and they're forcing him out.
Yeah, they certainly are. They do push him back, but he at least gets the camp and escapes with his life. And they've rotated Fallen Bandit on this Cassiopeia to the bot lane to kind of just pick up some more farm in this dangerous lane down there. And they're going to have Zag moving up to the top side. They're trying to protect that Jhin by invading into the jungle, by taking control of it with these wards, and look to kind of push up and try to take that top turret next.
So now the bot lane in that top lane. You mentioned top lane tower, probably the priority here.
Butler Delta.
Yeah, Ocean Drake going into the mid lane here. Butler Delta has his flash available. Does have a decent amount of wave clear on that Vel'Koz too, so just putting a little bit of pressure down there. But we've switched sides of the map now, as we do have dual lanes up in the top side of the map, solo lanes down on the bottom side of the map, and we'll have to see if this changes anything from Team Clouddrake. Is now Wiggly trying to get aggressive invading, but he's caught out all by himself in no man's land. Does safeguard over to a ward. Omar God, though, is going to get a kill on him, but he runs into a Victor laser, and it's a 1-for-1.
Got absolutely popped there by RJS. D&D God did pick up the kill, thankfully for him, just moments before going down, and is getting closer and closer to that Triforce where he's going to be huge. And it's up quite significantly in farm here too, but it's definitely a good job there by RJS, D&D God, to be able to pick up the kill on Victor. Going to be one of the primary carries for them, and someone who definitely needs to get going here and be strong.
Only fitting that a God kills another God. But Victor is going to have a lot of that wave clear coming out from their side too. But we take another look at this one. Wiggly just kind of in the enemy jungle by himself there.
Yeah, and it's kind of something that's being forced upon him almost. He feels like he needs to kind of get back and kind of answer some of this aggression that is happening, because his camps are constantly being taken away. There's not stuff for him to farm. He wants to return the favor, get vision down, but Phil is already there in position to answer, and that is the big kind of thing that turned the tide. Had the Alistar not been on the top side, ready to respond, I think that Wiggly gets out with his life. So just well done there by Cloud, and they're really working well together as a team here to control the jungle and make it a tough game for Wiggly.
And that was one of the strengths of a lot of these members from Team Clouddrake is before this tournament, they had actually played at DreamHack Montreal. 4 out of these 5 members, Butler Delta was the only one who was not on the team, and they actually came out ahead and won that tournament. So they do have some of that team play experience behind them. And as you mentioned, sending that dual link to the top side, knowing that the priority is going to be that side of the map next, they're able to pick out the enemy jungle, getting a little bit aggressive. They have been focusing this top side of the map a lot, though, so while Ocean Drake starts up this dragon, Omar God's going to wind up finding the entire team there. Has to use the Onslaught of Shadows to get out again! Oh, but Ezreal ultimate comes through. He picks up a kill.
And he's going to go down, gets caught face checking there, and that's one of the things that you sometimes see in these games is that they are a little bit more messy. They're not always kind of paying the respect to the other team and being like, hey, they could be here, we could get caught. But in the top lane,
ooh, flash over the wall. Nitro was actually able to get out of... Never mind, Vel'Koz.
So it's a dragon for a kill, but that's actually the second dragon going over to Ocean, and that could be a pretty big deal. And now RJS getting caught.
Yeah, has to go ahead and run away here. Cassiopeia is going to come in, but she gets stunned up in the gravity field. It's a 1-for-1 trade there. Victor for Cassiopeia.
Pretty bloody game so far, and Ocean's going to be shoving in the mid lane. Cloud pushing on the top side. They're looking to get some damage done on this turret and perhaps take it out in response. And we'll see if they'll be able to do so, as Zag and Phil are both up here and have gotten themselves that kill. And here is the play once again here as Max Strobo decides to kind of move forward, gets rooted up, and Zag is able to get so much damage down with this ultimate.
And we see right here the curtain call comes out, lands 2 of the shots, then decides to try to get a little bit of wave clear, and then over the wall comes Phil, tries to get the combo down. Oh,
he missed it on a stun target.
Barely missed that one, but that's all right because Vel'Koz doesn't miss.
Yeah, a little bit unlucky on that miss, you know. Sun was in his eyes, but he's going to get the assist from Butler Delta. Wanted to give it over to the Vel'Koz, and he will be able to grab that kill for himself. And 2-1-2 now so far on Butler Delta. He's actually up almost 20 CS as this Anivia one trick.
Yeah.
He's playing Vel'Koz. He's doing very well for himself. Things are looking good so far.
Definitely not Anivia, although still putting up some pretty good points here. On the flip side, though, those 2 kills that RJ's D&D god, Victor, has been able to pick up for himself have been pretty solid, as he was able to turn around kind of some of these sticky situations that Team Ocean Drake had seemed to get themselves into. But now that we have some of these outer towers down, 2 from the side of Clouddrake, they've taken 2 of them, whereas Team Ocean Drake really hasn't been able to break that front line yet. We'll have to see where the real next movement on the map is. The dragon is not here, but it looks like the team's still fighting in this river. Oh my god, going in, a little bit of hand there. It's going to get taken down, but on the backside here comes the rest of Team Clouddrake. Zag's curtain call finds 1 as he's able to take down Max Strobo. Flash has been burned from Wiggly, but a flash after as a double kill is secured there by Zag. The ultimate comes out from Cassiopeia. She's going to wind up getting the slowdown on YM, but the gravity field is going to deter that chase.
Yeah, so Omar God does go down, but landing that ultimate, getting the damage out on these guys ended up being worth it in the end, as they do pick up 2 kills, looking to push in here on mid lane, and Phil doing a great job zoning these guys off, threatening the dive, and allowing them to kind of keep that minion wave a little bit more healthy so they can get some more damage down on the turret.
And that's the last outer turret that is standing for the side of Team Ocean Drake. So Cloud going to want to try to push on this one. We did see True Shot Barrage from the side lane, though, clearing out those minions. So this is going to take a little bit longer for Team Cloud Drake to take that one down. But let's take a look at that fight again as Omar kind of went in all by himself here for a bit.
Yeah, he knew he had the assistance coming, though. All his team is collapsing, so he lands the 2-man ultimate, gets that damage down, and a Max Trobo getting taken out by that Jhin ulti, plus the Vel'Koz ultimate. So much long-range damage there, and then Zag flashing over the wall, picking up the double. Fallen Bandit not quite able to take down these guys, but still, 2 kills for 1, and they're able to get some turret damage.
And this kind of speaks to Cloud Drake's decision-making. Now, while Omar God may not be putting up his 12.2 KDA this game, he has actually taken a little bit more of like a captain's role, and this kind of comes from the fact he's one of the only players in this game that has been in the University League of Legends tournament as well, and he's the captain of his team there as he looks to be leading the charge on Wiggly down here, gets a lot of damage down onto that Lee Sin, and they're continuing to try to push forward and establish this jungle pressure to get that last turret.
Yeah, definitely, and I do think that it can make a big difference having that kind of organized play experience, even if it's not quite at this level. It's just the ability to kind of have that shot calling experience, to know what you should be doing next, how to handle yourself in these sort of situations, because you know when you are playing by yourself in ranked, it's obviously much different than playing in a team environment. You kind of just worry about yourself, worry about you doing well, and it's much less kind of thought of as a whole team game.
As long as you have a plan and you're playing the game, you can have a game plan. And it looks like it's going to be the mid lane tower pressured here by Team Cloud Drake. They've been going at this for a couple of minutes, whittling it down ever so slightly. It's about quarter HP, but they are taking pot shots here as that fourth shot from Jhin is going to deal a lot of damage. But still, the wave clear from that Victor, now that he's upgraded his Hex Core, has that Needlessly Large Rod, able to keep him at bay.
It certainly has, but they've kind of set up a push here in the bot lane as well. And I thought they were going to rotate over as they had the minion wave arriving, and that's kind of more what you want to do. You want to pressure multiple lanes when you're trying to just kind of run down mid and be able to take down that mid lane turret against things like the Victor and the Ezreal, even the Karma offering that extra wave clear. It can be very difficult, but if you can start pressuring in multiple lanes, you push in the Victor mid, then you rotate to a side lane and start working on those turrets. That's where it gets a lot harder for these kind of super powerful mid lane mages who have that wave clear.
And when you have a potential mid lane mage on your team that is just so having to find herself in a top lane role, that Cassiopeia is going to be clearing those waves and setting up those pushes. We did see him going on the top side, but wherever Cassio is going, looks like that Gnar is trying to do the same thing on the opposite side of the map, because more of the traditional kind of solo lane split pusher, Gnar's teleport usage we mentioned earlier, may be a little bit more effective if they do wind up getting in a fight.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I do think that he's going to have the flank effectiveness with the teleport, but it doesn't mean that Fallen Bandit can't be just as effective or more effective in a team fight, because Cassiopeia is a champion that can hard carry late game. This is a champion that can solo win team fights with the amount of consistent AP damage you can put out. Both Vel'Koz and Cassiopeia are 2 of the mid lane mages which really put out non-stop damage. Cassiopeia acts kind of more like an AD carry than a mage, where it's just non-stop shooting out those Twin Fangs over and over and over and being able to be a consistent damage source.
It looks like the Cloud Drake is the target from the team with the same namesake here. Now, Ocean Drake had gotten the previous 2 themselves. This will be the first one going to the side of Team Cloud Drake. They may have not been able to break down that tower in the mid lane, but using that map pressure they got, they pick up their first dragon and stop the snowball effect.
Yeah, and it's pretty important to grab at least some of these away from your opponents, because if this game's going to go long, when you get to Elder, you want it to be equal threat for both teams. Every single dragon you pick up is going to increase the true damage done from that Elder Dragon burn, the buff you get. And you don't want to be in a situation where the other team has 3, 4, 5 dragons and you have none, because you still must contest this buff, but then you get very little from it.
We're going to have to see what happens next, though, as mid lane here. It looks like that the AD carry and mid laner from Team Ocean Drake continuing to just push that wave out, continuing to shove that down, and both of these solo laners in the meantime have been able to quietly pick up some decent items for themselves. Rylai's Crystal Scepter was picked up by Cassio on one of her previous backs. Gnar has gone back and completed that Frozen Mallet. So we are starting to see like that 2-item kind of build settling down right now for most of these champions. Duskblade and the Yomu's Ghostblade picked up for Jhin. Ezreal about to finish his Trinity Force as well.
Yeah, these guys are going to be getting pretty strong for themselves. And it's interesting to note that Vex did decide to go for that Trinity Force. And not playing the Iceborne Gauntlet is kind of more standard, and could be a nod to the double AP composition. It could simply be something where it's just personal preference. Either way, things looking pretty good for him, and Cassiopeia going to be scaling up pretty heavily here, staying relatively even on CS, and has that Rylai's almost done the Morellos. When he hits these multiple items, the champion gets really, really strong. Once you start getting 2-3 items on Cassiopeia, that's when you really just become an absolute teamfight menace, and picking up that CDR early is going to be pretty important.
Well, while Cassio and Gnar are away in that bot lane, continuing to just chip away at that mid lane towers. Now we see a little bit of a skirmish going on. Fallen Bandit starting to show off what that Rylai's can do versus the Gnar here, making sure the Miasma's down. He can't just hop out of that, taking a lot of damage.
And the Miasma can be so annoying to deal with for some of these champions that use the dashes like the Lee Sin, like the Ezreal, but RJS gonna get caught out.
Showtime, the curtain call comes out, the onslaught of shadows, and Omar winds up taking down Victor. Now that the wave clear is gone, that tower is going to fall.
It certainly is, and they could try to push for more here as Nara is still kind of having to respond to that side lane. They will back off at least for now, but still a good pick, and you can see how much long-range assistance this team has. Jhin opens up with the ultimate. Vel'Koz can ultimate over the wall, and then Omar God can fly in from long range with his ultimate. So they have all this long range engage and follow-up. It's very tough to deal with, and now they will rotate to bot lane.
You were mentioning about the rotation with this wave coming up, and they are going to go from it the side of Cloud Drake. They don't have ultimates available to really go for a dive, but they don't have to. True Shot Barrage is going to clear the minion wave though, so Phil's taking this tower damage, but they are going to wind up picking it up. That goes down, and they're on the retreat here. Petrifying Gaze comes up from Cassiopeia, and the Deadly Florist is able to root the Gnar, so there's no re-engage from Team Ocean Drake.
And even if Ocean wanted to chase, just look at the minions crashing into the top lane turret. There's a couple waves up there that they would be losing if they decide to make that chase, and they're even going to lose a couple regardless. So it's not really the option to do it. They will back off, and Cloud is coming up big so far. They're up 4,000 gold, really looking strong, and really starting to kind of hit their stride, being able to pick up even more objectives, even more gold, and really kind of start to snowball that.
And already with a 4,000 gold advantage, or 3,500 gold advantage in their favor from the side of Team Cloud Drake. The outer towers have fallen. They've been able to push up that bottom side now. It looks like that the Team Cloud Drake has already been really solid at getting vision down inside of the enemy's jungle. It's been cleared out now that they've all kind of gone back and that push is over. But now they're going to see, do they go for that top side tower? Are they able to establish that forward vision? And now that we're past 20 minutes, they got the Baron on that side of the map as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really going to be the next key objective here. We're going to see Cloud trying to establish vision in this top side jungle. You can use that both to pressure the top tier 2 as well as pressuring that Baron. So it works kind of both ways. You can shove it up, you can try to get damage down on that turret as much as possible, but in the bot lane, oh, swing and a miss there.
Onslaught of Shadows goes a little bit far, but the Gnar has to come out as well. A flash away from the Miasma from Max Strobo, who's going to meet up with RJ's D&D God, get himself safely out of there as he goes mini.
Yeah, well worth it either way. They get the flash for the ultimate, so a good play, and Zag is shoving it up here in the top lane, looking to try to get damage down on this turret, but he has to be careful. They haven't seen the Lee Sin. He does show, and they are able to quietly walk out.
So really good movement there. Team Cloud Drake tried to go for something on the bottom side of the map, and now we're seeing Team Ocean Drake be the one to respond to where Omar has been, where he was the one that was kind of making the proactive plays in the early game. This time it's Wiggly who kind of trying to lead the team up there, and Team Ocean Drake, unsurprisingly, are being coached by Team Liquid. And Dardoch, actually, who's really been working close with Wiggly, actually rates him extremely highly, not only just in his raw skill, but the ability to really make some of these decisions in game. And as the Lee Sin in this composition between him and Max Strobo's Gnar, they're going to have to try to go for things. But right now, it's Team Cloud Drake that's going for it, as Butler Delta picks up a killing spree. Another kill onto that mid lane Victor. The slows from Cassiopeia are going to just slow down that Karma long enough for it to be a double kill now that Butler Delta picks up.
And that is huge. Picking up the support and the mid laner. They have almost no wave clear here. Cloud has a lot of options on the table. Looks like they're going to try to just shove it down mid here, and they can threaten a dive pretty easily with the Alistar ultimate still available. We'll see if they go for it.
Well, the True Shot Barrage is out. The Miasma is down underneath the tower to make sure anybody who steps up really can't step away. But Omar God's going to go on the side here. Wiggly was trying for a flank. Petrifying Gaze goes out, and Wiggly just gets melted. Does divert the attention from Team Cloud Drake from the tower for just long enough for the rest of Ocean to clear the wave out, but that's a dead Lee Sin.
It is a deadly sin. At least it is a turret staying on the map, though, for Ocean. So it comes at a price, but they do defend. Unfortunately, the kind of follow-up cost here is that Dragon. Because they're down a jungler, there's no way Ocean can really contest this. So it's now tied up on Dragons 2-2 here. And it is going to be very nice, especially for that Hecarim, having the extra move speed. And for Phil as well here on the Alistar. He already has the Moby Boots. Now they have double Cloud Drake. So the out-of-combat move speed this Alistar is going to get is pretty insane, and it's going to get even more crazy. You saw how quickly he was able to catch up to Wyan and for that initial kind of dive on the Karma, and now that's just going to be even stronger.
Using that move speed, we see the jungle support Dua just invading into that top side once again, denying the vision, making sure that Ocean is not going to be safe, even on their own side of the map.
Omar just casually kind of trots up, smites that away, and he gets out of there. It's definitely a frustrating experience, especially it's actually pretty important because Wiggly never used his smite on that buff, which means he doesn't get that kind of Oracle's Elixir type buff to clear out some of the vision on his side of the map. So it's not just about the gold there, it's about the buff that the Raptors do provide, and they will be denied both.
Yep, and that's going to be ever so important as Baron becomes a bigger and bigger threat on the map. Keeping that vision clear is going to be a prime objective from a lot of the members of the team, specifically the junglers and the support duos. Fallen Bandit here on this Cassiopeia. We thought it was a little bit of an interesting pick because, well, speaking of picks here, Omar looks like he might get picked off here, but he is just going to wind up using the Devastating Charge to get himself out of there. But the Cassiopeia top lane pick, we didn't expect, well, we didn't know what to expect from it, to be completely honest. Currently, 1-1-5 just hit that 2-item power spike. We'll see if anything happens. So both teleports are available. It looks like Max Trobo is going to try to join into this fight.
He's coming behind.
Oh, the Cassiopeia is going to join up on the fight. The exhaust goes down on Victor, though. Looks like Team Cloud Drake's taking a lot of damage from this one. Fallen Bandit kind of splits as Butler Delta is able to pick up Wiggly there. Fallen Bandit on the backside, HP bar dropping low, does use the Petrifying Gaze. The Curtain Call in the meantime was trying to provide cover fire for the rest of the team, but it is going to be RJ's D&D God that finds himself 2 kills for the price of 1 on his Lee Sin.
Yeah, really good fight there for Ocean, and that kind of is part of the lack in power there from Fallen Bandit on that TP. You TP in on the Cassiopeia, it's not that much of an immediate threat. And even though Max Trobo TP'd in with no Narbar whatsoever, he still had the bigger impact in that fight and was pretty critical for them winning that. And now they'll be able to take a mid lane turret also.
Yeah, and that's going to wind up closing this gold gap ever so slightly here. Now it's only going to be about a 4,000 gold lead after that fight. And unfortunately, as we go through this replay, that Cassiopeia flank, I was hyped about. You were right.
Yeah, it didn't work out so well, but it's also kind of the commitment here from Omar God onto Wyan. He tried to go so deep to get damage out on the Karma, and Ezreal was able to return a lot of damage. So if you look at the Hecarim, he's already very, very low here and isn't able to contribute too much to the fight. Phil is getting kind of picked away at, and Fallen Bandit on the bottom side gets taken out by Max Trobo there with some help from RJS, D&G God. So really, it was just kind of a little bit of poor target selection and kind of the higher effectiveness of that Gnar team.
Yeah, and the Gnar actually teleported in behind the enemy team, whereas Cassiopeia kind of teleported into the middle of everything.
Yeah.
She thought that's where she'd want to be to dish out the damage, but she wanted to get sandwiched there. And like you said, no Gnar bar, no problem there. So he was able to just stack it up on her. But now the Baron is going to be an issue for both of these teams here, as they are just putting a lot more resources into it. But with both TPs now down, we're going to have to be very careful as to where Team Ocean Drake is on the map right now. Gnar on the bottom side, they are going to start at the Cloud.
Oh, Wiggly's caught.
Oh, Wiggly does get caught up there by Phil. Like you said, the Alistar with the bonus move speed going to be able to provide that engage. The Curtain Call is being dodged out by Wyan, but the Miasma goes down, finds the one spot he can flash out of there. Fallen Bandit's going to flash to follow, though, and that's a 2 for nothing.
And that should be Baron. I think they can just take it. There's not much you can do to stop this, and it's going to be very quick with the Cassiopeia, the Vel'Koz, all adding in a ton of damage here. And Baron definitely going to be going the way of Cloud, and we'll see what they can get off the back of this.
And it does seem that Ocean is nowhere to contest this, and that is going to be Baron for the side of Team Cloud Drake. So they wind up getting themselves really good engage. They've gotten themselves the Baron. They've been a little bit stalled on that tower pressure. They pushed out the top and the bot very early, got the mid, got the bot tier 2, but now they got that Baron to try to break the rest of those towers.
Yeah, and it's the gold as well, right? You get all that global gold for taking down the Baron. Now you can try to get even more, at least pick up these outer turrets. I think those ones are going to be kind of #1 on the chopping block here for Cloud. As Victor becomes so much less effective, it's very, very difficult to actually clear out these minion waves. I mean, you can't just one-shot them with your laser. It's tough. The dive is going to get threatened very heavily here from this Alistar. we'll see what they're going to be able to do.
Right now, it looks like they are trying to shove up every single lane that's Fallen Bandit. Petrifying Gaze actually goes up to slow down Max Strobo. No Narvar available yet, but in comes Y, and the Inspire Shield goes down. The transformation comes out, and Max Strobo picks up the kill.
The exhaust completely shut him down there. I think even with the shield, Fallen Bandit would have won that fight, but either way, 2 show bot side. They're going to immediately lose that top lane turret, and these guys can continue to push. They see the Gnar bottom, so they know there can't be too many guys here. They are going to try to play it safe, back off, and will reset. We'll see if they decide to try to push over back by mid lane.
They tried to mitigate the damage too. Butler Delta used the Baron Empowered Recall to go back and then contest that bottom side. So they knew that the one tower was fine. They picked that up, and then top side, they didn't want to lose one for themselves. But they still have 4 members strong with this Baron buff. They can just group up, reset, and go for that last outer mid lane tower.
Yeah, they do have to be a little bit wary of the fact that Max Strobo has his TP just about back up. So he's going to be playing that Insight Mastery. He has it a little bit faster than Fallen Bandit, who won't be playing that. So they have to respect the ability to flank, but it is kind of a little bit risky for Max Strobo because he's on such a damage-heavy build. Let's see if Wiggly's going to get caught out. He'll be able to just walk out.
Looks like the side of Ocean Drake is trying to establish vision for the Ocean Drake that has spawned with Ezreal and Gnar, and the top side at the time, CLD, the Cloud Drake team, is the one that takes down the Ocean Drake, and they're going to get their 3rd dragon of the game. After the first 2 went to Ocean, they've gotten every single one after that.
Yeah, they've done very well to kind of battle back in that regard and set themselves up for the Elder. You know, that's what we talked about, and they are going to have 3 dragons, which kind of empower them with that extra true damage for the Elder. And now pushing down mid lane here, they still have that Baron buff, but missing a couple of their members, and there's a TP coming in from Gnar behind.
With a devastating charge, and the Onslaught of Shadows were used to just secure that tower, but Max Strobo comes in. Narvar is not yet full. The Curtain Call is used for some cover fire. Max Strobo takes a lot of damage, and he still hasn't transformed yet. The Chaos Storm came out just to try to chase down Omar God, but in comes Butler Delta. Vel'Koz swinging a miss right there, but looks like they are just going to get that tower and be able to back away.
Yeah, and the Jhin ulti was pretty key on to Max Strobo because this is not a tanky Gnar yet. He doesn't even have a completed GA, and he has like 3 damage items essentially. Yes, they do give him some HP, but it's not really going to protect you very much against a 4-item Jhin who can really shred this guy in. And although the Gnar can do a ton of damage, if you can get that damage down onto him before he's able to actually complete that flank, get in on you, you can really limit his effectiveness in these team fights, and that's what the Vel'Koz and the Jhin are looking to do.
The fact that it was over the wall, too, is really, really good, because that meant he had to choose, like, do I go towards that Jhin? Do I try to go towards the rest of my team in the fight? But as you mentioned, lots of bad triggers as Merc Treads and the Hex Drinker picked up from Gnar. Not really going to help when it's bullets that he's trying to absorb there. So now Team Cloud Drake, Baron buffs are falling off, but it does look like that they are going to be the ones that still try to group up as a team of 5. They're setting their sights on that top lane now, continuing to just rotate around the map.
Yeah, just look at how much better their vision is right now. They have pink wards all over this kind of top side of the map, covering them in the jungle, being able to just continue to pressure forward. That's all 5 of their pink wards are on this side of the map, right? This is very clearly where they're trying to target, because you can pressure this top inhibitor turret, and you can also use this vision as kind of a fallback for eventually when the Baron does spawn.
There's going to be a little bit before Baron shows back up on here. However, with that established map pressure, like you said, doesn't look like the siege is going to be letting up anytime soon. Between Vel'Koz and this Curtain Call coming out from Jhin, they are going to be the ones trying to force down this tower in the top side. Wiggly already eating a lot of CC and damage. Phil's actually going to have to flash out there from the gravity field, taking a lot of damage from the back line here of Team Ocean Drake. And it does look like that Max Strobo in the front line does turn around for the Petrifying Gaze, but a lot of damage comes out, and Zag crits and takes him down. Tons of damage coming out from that 4th shot on Jhin. The Chaos Storm is falling after them. The flash forward from Butler Delta will not do anything but force a shift out of Ezreal, but the tower is going to be the one that takes the pain and punishment. That goes down. Onslaught of Shadows still available here from Omar God. Lion winds up going low, but Wiggly's the target if they wind up knocking up and trying to take down. He's going to flash away. So nobody else from the side of Ocean Drake goes down unless you count the inhibitor that falls.
Yeah, Wiggly barely able to survive, but it's a moral victory if anything, because they lose the inhibitor, they lose the inhibitor turret, and Cloud keeps all their members alive, and you saw Max Strobo get absolutely decimated by that 4th shot from Jhin. Almost 1,000 on that 4th shot crit. This guy is just getting sliced through like butter by the Jhin right now. Does not have enough armor to really be able to survive, and this is just kind of textbook sieging here from Cloud. They open up with that Vel'Koz ultimate, with the Jhin ultimate, and they poke out Wiggly right off the bat.
Yeah, and because of that, he's not able to really participate in this fight. Even has to wind up recalling before rejoining here. And by the time he completes his recall, Max Turbo's already dead.
Exactly. He's already gone down, and the other members of the team are already about half HP. They do not have much of a chance here, but they're looking for a flank on Butler Delta.
Ooh, they're going in hard, but they didn't see the rest of Cloud Drake behind him here. RJ's D&D God is going to go down.
And that's the vision, right? That is the vision control that they have. They don't know where the other team is, and they lose their mid laner for free there. And now it's going to be the top lane pushing in with the super minions. Mid lane is going to be sieged up here, and they are going to be very hard pressed to survive for the next 40 seconds without their victor.
Yeah, their main source of wave clear is no longer there, and we have tons of it from the side of Cloud Drake. Once again, the curtain call comes out, being used to zone away. It's either take this damage or lose your tower. And Team Ocean Drake, they're trying to stand top. This is a 4v5. The tower already chunked down to half HP. Fallen Bandit just taking shots with those twin fangs on Max Turbo. Isn't able to get over the wall. Does get the petrifying gaze for his troubles, though.
Yeah, failed his jump over there, but he's just never really been able to get in with a Mega Gnar, I think almost this entire game. Even that one good fight they had in the jungle, Mega Gnar was never really part of it. And Cloud has just done a great job kind of zoning these guys out. Phil standing on a ward, does sweep it out.
He's going to clear it.
Able to reestablish that control.
And it does look like now with that ward over the side of the wall, they are going to see the rest of Team Cloud Drake is there, but Baron is available on the map. Victor has respawned though, so I don't think Cloud Drake's going to go exactly for that, but with all that forward pressure and continuing to try to deny this vision from Team Ocean Drake, wouldn't be surprised that's where we see things going next.
Yeah, and they don't have to start it up just yet, but the thing is, they have full vision control. They can continuously threaten it, make people check on the Baron, make people show you the respect that you could be doing it, and if they're not, you could just start it up and you can bait them in, try to get picks.
And they know that somebody still has to deal with those super minions that are pushing down on the top side here. We do have Max Turbo's Gnar there. Teleport is available, and it's not too far away from the Baron pit. But like you said, you don't have to do the Baron. You could turn on to somebody with your superior vision control, and that's all you really need. But it looks like the side of Cloud Drake is going to wind up going back, and they are going to be picking up a couple more key items. You have a Void Staff now, as well as the fully upgraded Seraph's Embrace from Cassiopeia, so she has hit that late game carry status here. We have a Void Staff picked up again from the side of Vel'Koz, and now an Infinity Edge added into Jin's arsenal.
Yeah, he's sitting on that Infinity Edge, now picking up some armor pen, so these guys are pretty much getting to their final builds, and with the Void Staffs added in, they're going to be able to shred through even people like this Gnar, and Butler Delta is just zoning them out with the ultimate, as that Baron is going down so fast, there's not even a chance to contest.
No, I don't think I've seen a zoning lifeform disintegration ray before, but I have now thanks to the scouting grounds, and the curtain call means the show is not over quite yet. Oh my god, but the onslaught of shadows goes in. The petrifying gaze doesn't want it stunning anybody, but slows some down. Max Turbo does drop low. He is able to turn Mega. The Gnar goes in. The Chaos Storm comes out. Ocean are trying to turn this around, but Cloud's health bars are not melting yet. GA is popped onto Max Turbo, but RJ's D&D got picked with the first kill onto Fallen Bandit. Now Omar God has been the target. A double kill winds up getting picked up onto Lawfell. Omar's gonna go down. That's a triple kill for Victor. Wiggly chasing down onto Butler Delta. Shut down there. It's a 4-kill for Baron trade.
And finally, Max Turbo's able to get the big Mega Gnar. He gets access to the backline, cracks open the team, and once you get to that backline, everyone has to scatter. These guys do not have a powerful front line. Once the Alistar ultimate is down, once Omar God is getting taken out, it's every man for himself, and the Vel'Koz is losing the 1v1 to the Gnar. No one can really win in these kind of scrappy fights.
And it's 40 minutes into the game, so those death timers are still at 30 seconds. It's Zag against the world. Ocean Drake goes in. They pick up the final kill. That's an ace. No one's left on the map. One fight, and they're done. That's all it takes for Team Ocean Drake. They're going to take down game number 1.
They were losing the entire game, but Ocean pulls game 1 out of the hat. I don't know. That was something else. But one big team fight win, late game, as you said, that was it. I mean, they were smashed the whole game pretty much.
I don't know what to really say about that one, but I guess you really can't count anybody out when they have that amount of AoE damage, when they have the ability to just chain those things together. We were looking for Max Turbo to get that one Mega Gnar, that one ultimate into a really good team fight, and that's all it took. They were down they were down when they lost the game by 3,500 gold, but the tides of battle turned in just one fight.
Yeah, they certainly did. I mean, Max Turbo able to kind of Mega Gnar, throw them back into the team where their Victor is able to get a ridiculous amount of damage done. And once the front line collapsed, there was just not much of a way for these guys to kind of win the fight because everyone's getting pushed back, everyone's being pressured, and you know, Wyan was doing a great job kind of keeping people alive with the Karma Shield. So a pretty impressive turnaround there from Ocean. Was certainly not the way that game was looking as another Baron gets secured. And you have to think that Cloud maybe could have just kind of backed out with the Baron, didn't need to take that fight, but they were so confident because they had been winning fight after fight after fight, but they slipped up one time, and one time Max Turbo gets backline with the Mega Gnar. And that's all it takes.
Yeah, you mentioned that they had no real front line outside of the Alistar, and the Hecarim going in did build a little bit of armor and a Guardian Angel, but it was not available in that fight, or had been popped in that fight. So not a lot of tankiness in the front line. Once they actually said they cracked open with the Gnar ultimate, the carries just melted, and at that point in time, you just have the Hecarim respawning. You have a Jhin who has to run away. He's been using his ultimate for those engages, so he wasn't able to just safely kind of peel for the team in that situation.
Yeah, I mean, they do have a front line, but it's just that it's Alistar goes in, his ultimate expires. Now he's going to be relatively squishy, and Omar God ults forward, and he's getting poked out. He took so much damage on his way into the fight that he's not able to kind of just stand there and tank them up, right? He's not able to kind of do that, and Jhin needs the support of his team. Cassio needs the support of his team, and so does the Vel'Koz, whereas champions like the Victor and the Gnar and the Ezreal are much more scrappy. They can kind of have these little duels and have those fights without necessarily having their team in front of them.
And we did see that a lot of the potential coming out from Ocean Drake, the kind of kite back, they had the AoE kind of control on their side as well. Ezreal wound up ending the game 1-0-6, so he didn't necessarily get a lot of the kill credit coming out from Vex, but like we mentioned earlier, he provided the utility, he was able to stay alive, he dished out the damage he needed to, and then the rest of his team was able to finish it up.
Yep, certainly were.
So even though there were 3 Cloud Drakes in that game, it is Team Ocean Drake that comes out ahead in this series 1-0. So Team Cloud Drake's going to be looking to even things up in game number 2. That game's going to kick off in just a few moments, guys, so we'll be right back.